Right now, I'm just on my way down the dirt track to the famous Cromwell Lake near Newark in Nottingham. This is the story of our forum social for 2015. After arriving in the car park and having a walk around with the lads, it was time to get on with the draw. This has always been a bugbear for me over the years. Every time we've had one of these forum socials, I'm absolutely famous for coming out last or second to last. There's 12 of us fishing this time, and after last year coming out 6th, I actually thought I'd broke my run of bad luck. How wrong was I? As I picked out number 12, last choice of swim. I had to sit and watch as every single good swim that I was interested in went. I can't tell you how gutted I was about this. It's just unbelievable. Despite coming out last, there was a couple of good swims left by the time everybody had the choice, and I ended up fishing in peg 12, one half of the double swim up the left hand bank, and I was fishing with my good mate Barry the Pike. With the draw out of the way, we all loaded our barrows up, and it was like the wacky races as we all headed off to our pegs. Mick in front of me there, he had to do 2 runs. The second run was just for the beer. Once I arrived at my swim, I had a good look at the lake. This is the view I had. As you can see, there's a light wind. It's pushing easterly at the moment, but the forecast was for a 30-mile-an-hour southerly to come in, which would have been hacking straight into the bank that you're looking at now opposite me. There's a really big wind and I expected the fish to move on it, and sure enough they did. As you can see, it didn't take long for that wind to start to blow. It blew all Friday, well into Friday night, Saturday morning, and by the time Saturday morning came, there was a lot of fish up my end of the lake. Unfortunately, being the deepest water in the lake, with most of my swim over 15 foot deep, I couldn't buy a bite on a bottom bait. Despite using a marker rod and finding the spots and measuring them accurately with distant sticks, I just wasn't getting pickups on boilies, and it became pretty clear by Saturday afternoon that the fish were on a fly hatch and they were feeding on flies on the surface, especially over on the left hand bank. There was a lot of activity over there, but nobody could get a bite. Eventually I decided to switch to the zig rig. I thought about it for a while and decided black foam was the best approach. Black foam might just mimic the fly hatch a little bit better and not stand out so much. So I started with black foam on Saturday afternoon, 12 foot up in 14 feet of water. Fished in the area where the carp were highly active. Unfortunately, the black foam didn't work and I couldn't get a pickup. So in the end I started to think, well, maybe I should make my bait stand out, and I switched to yellow foam. It took a couple of hours, but eventually the yellow foam brought a result. I had a drop back bite and I found myself into a Cromwell carp. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the carp on film. I was too interested in keeping it hooked and actually getting the fish landed, and I completely forgot about the camera. But I did manage to film this sequence of the fish being weighed and photographed. To give you an idea of just how long a 12 foot hook link is, Barry's holding me rod and that's my lead dangling in the air, and I'm actually unhooking the fish there. It's really long hook length that actually had to be cast off the ground. With the fish unhooked, removed the net from underneath and got on with weighing it. It turned out in the end to be 22 pounds 12 ounces, which was a decent fish for this particular trip. And I must say I was very happy to catch it because only 4 of us caught. After completing the pictures, I zipped up the sling and carried the fish back to the water for a return shot. I was grateful for this fish in the end because I didn't catch any more. In fact, we had a really tough trip all round. Kurt, who was operating the camera, top scored with Arthur at £37 2 ounces, and he also chipped in with a mirror of 21 and a low double. The only other fish caught were doubles up to £17 by James and Mick, who were in pegs 14 and 15 to our right. James had 17, 2 low doubles and a single, and Mick had just a 17-pounder. Everyone else on our trip blanked, so 4 out of 12 caught over the 48-hour session. Not many fish were caught, and the fishing was really difficult. We still had a good time though, and we will return to this lake at some point in the future, but I think for next year our social might return to our favourite venue, Sandhurst. I carry a video camera with me every session these days, so please click and subscribe to see how my year unfolds. Thanks for watching, and tight lines.